So, sorry, I was listening to the recording. I started a few minutes late. We're discussing Tathagata. For those of you seeing this in recording, it's at paragraph 11, spot 2, halfway down page 25 in the Ger and Karana Tildaka. So the most common word with is Tathagata, um, which could be interpreted to mean just thus gone, which may not mean terribly much. Or also it's been interpreted as gone to suchness. It's one of these rather teasing ones that we don't. I mean, if anyone has any better ideas or ideas of what it really means, please do say. So, thus gone or gone to suchness. We have the sugata, well gone. Itipiso bhagava arhang sama. So sugato loka venue, I forget how it goes now. So sugato, literally well gone, or gone to a good place. Gone to often means not just gone in the sense of here today, gone tomorrow, but come into a place where that's where he is now. Gone to so and so, with the emphasis not so much on going as in departing, but gone to, namely, that's where he's arrived now. That's where somebody is at. It can also be used in a kind of a negative sense. The example given here in Ger and Karanatillika is avidyagata, the ignorance gone, sort of in a state of ignorance. Rather like our English woe begone. So ignorance begone, woe begone. It could, so in that negative sense. Did anyone have any other interpretations of what Tathagata really means? Yes, Simon, please.
I think Gombrich takes the view that gata can mean just kind of gone like that, become like that.
Okay, yes, certainly. I'd have no problem at all with that. Not that I'd want to contradict Gombrich anyway. I'm not quite brave enough to do that.
You could say kind of gone to thusness and tata, or much more simply, a person like this, somebody who's gone like me, tathagata, gone thus.
Indeed, you could, yes, yeah. So they're two very simple words. Put them together, and they can create quite a lot of puzzles and a few different interpretations.
I remember when we did what's the Johansson. We did a sutta where there was, I can't remember her name, but there was a nun who is tormented by Mara, and
yes,
she accuses him. She says, "Oh, are you ditthigata?" So
exactly, ditthigata. Yes, ditthigatosi Mara. You are view begone, and you can be woe begone, and you view begone. In other words, enmeshed or mired in false view. Yes, well remembered, Simon. That's right. So it can be used in a positive sense, or as in abhijagata, ditthigata, with a negative connotation.
When you have a different ending, is presumably it's still from gata, but if you have a person who is virtuous, you have like sugati, somebody who is going well. So different from sugato, like the blessed one, but a virtuous one. That's in the Dhammapada, one of the last verses that we did before we gave up in one of the sections there.
Can you remember which verse it was?
Not offhand. I must have it written down somewhere.
Okay, because there's a very small select group of books that I keep actually always within arm's reach on my desk. One of them is the wonderful old Radha Krishnan Dhammapada that I've had since I bought it as an undergraduate back in 1967. So if you can find the verse, Simon,
I'll
I'd be grateful.
get it at break, but it's Sugati, which is translated as one who is going well, a virtuous one, a good person.
Okay, now the I'll check in the verse itself, but what that immediately suggests to me is that we have the root gum, we have the past participle gata, and we have the verbal noun gati. So gati means a going. So in fact, it's the same as coincidentally the same as the English word one's gait, one's manner of walking, with an unsteady gait. It's that same word. Was coincidentally that there were anagrams of each other in the Roman script. So sugati means a good going.
Okay,
So it's rather like a good rebirth. And you have duggeti as well, meaning a kind of a hell road, literally a bad going, a bad place to go. So it would be duggeti in Sanskrit, duggeti in Pali.
that would be the case even if it were a noun with a long e, Sugati.
Ah,
I was wondering whether that came from the past participle, from gata.
you normally with the past participles, the feminine form is a rather than e, which is the standard. Um, so if I saw sugati with a short e, I would interpret that it could be a possessive compound, I mean, one whose destination is good, namely one who's gone to heaven, gone to a good realm, or simply a sugati, a good place to go, a good destination, therefore a heavenly realm. But anyway, if you can find the reference in the break, Simon, is this a verse you say we've been through?
We did because I've got it in notes, and I've only done a very small number that we haven't been through. So I'll definitely be able to find it quickly there.
Okay, fine. So we'll deal with that in the second half then. So continuing now the second half of page 25 in the grammar is just deals with sandhi. Some forms in Pali that begin with a consonant double a consonant when a form ending with a vowel precedes it in a single word. Okay, we've had this lots and lots. Um, it gives Tathagata Pavedita with doubling the P, and A plus Pamado, Appamado. In this grammar, and Karanatillika, they're a little bit shy talking about Sanskrit. As you know, I am never shy talking about Sanskrit and helping you understand the Pali via the Sanskrit. Because he goes on to say, or they go on to say, note that this doubling occurs only with certain words. Thus, Puttosan does not have this property. Um, one must thus learn which words behave in this way as they occur. And then this shy little footnote at the bottom of the page, unless one knows the Sanskrit equivalents, which will begin with consonant clusters, as in pramada pravedita. Well, as you know, the way I teach this, I say what it is in Sanskrit fully explains what it is in Pali. And in both of the examples given here, Tathagata Pavedita and Appamada, these are both words that begin with a pra in Sanskrit, and the one the same as the Latin and Greek pro, and the Greek for, the English for, F-O-R-E, is meaning forth, ahead. It's the idea of moving onwards from where you are. Pramada, which we've glossed as madding forth, losing your presence of mind, getting carried away by an emotion, carried forth by the flood. So that brings us to the end of the grammar in lesson 2. So we'll go on to the last of the readings for that lesson, which is reading 2 partway down page 27. So before we go on to the reading, were there any questions arising out of the grammar, or indeed any outstanding questions to date? Okay, so we're looking now, and I'll just what I'll do, I'll read out this text. This it's the one that begins at number 2, about 1/3 of the way down page 27 in the printed book, and I'll read it out slowly once, and then I'll call up the analysis on shared screen. Yes. Panchahi bhikkhave dhammehi samannagato bhikkhuchavati न प्रतिष्ठाति सद्धम्मे कतमेहि पंचहि असधो भिक्खवे भिक्खुच्छवति न प्रतिष्ठाति सद्धम्मे अहरिको भिक्खवे भिक्खुच्छवति न प्रतिष्ठाति सद्धम्मे अनुत्तप्पि भिक्खवे भिक्खुच्छवति न प्रतिष्ठाति सद्धम्मे कुसीतो भिक्खवे भिक्खुच्छवति न प्रतिष्ठाति सद्धम्मे दुप्पन्यो भिक्खवे भिक्खुचवति न प्रतिष्ठाति सद्धम्मे इमे हि को भिक्खवे पंच हि धम्मे हि समानागतो भिक्खुचवति न प्रतिष्ठाति सद्धम्मे पंचभि भिक्खवे धम्मे हि समानागतो भिक्खु न चवति प्रतिष्ठाति सद्धम्मे कतमे हि पंचहि सद्धो भिक्खवे भिक्खु न चवति प्रतिष्ठाति सद्धम्मे हिरिमा भिक्खवे भिक्खु न चवति प्रतिष्ठाति सद्धम्मे उत्तप्पि भिक्खवे भिक्खु न चवति प्रतिष्ठाति सद्धम्मे अकुसीतो भिक्खवे भिक्खु न चवति प्रतिष्ठाति सद्धम्मे पन्यवा भिक्खवे भिक्खु न चवति प्रतिष्ठाति सद्धम्मे इमे हि को भिक्खवे पंच हि धम्मे हि समानागतो भिक्खु न चवति प्रतिष्ठाति सद्धम्मे. So I'll call it up now on shared screen. Let me get it up for you. Okay. Are we shared? Okay. I'll just enlarge it. There's some Chavati. I'll just get up my meaning falls. I'm just going to call up there we are. Chavati in fact, the Vedic root is chu with a ch, yeah, chu, and in Sanskrit it's regular, is chavati. So in Pali, chavati. It means to fall, but it specifically means to fall from a higher state into a lower state. As for example, um, somebody by his good karma gets rebirth in a deva loka, a deva realm, and upon the exhaustion or upon his good karma becoming exhausted, Devaloka, that's the ablative form, Devaloka Chavati. He falls from the Devaloka. I don't think I've ever seen it in the sense of an ordinary physical falling, as in tripping and falling. As best I recall, I've only seen it in the sense of either a falling from a higher realm into a lower one, or kind of a moral falling, a falling from a good state into a bad state. Simon.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make about the good state to a bad state. In
Yeah.
um, the sutta that I mentioned in Johansson, where the nun is tormented by Mara,
Hmm.
that he's attempting to chavetu karma, attempting to or desiring to make her fall from.
Ah, okay, yeah, Chave to Kama, yes. Hmm. With that the long Chave to Chave to Kama. Okay, if you think, thanks for that. So it would make, so Chavati, and look at first of all Sanskrit, and then we'll look at Pali. So Chavati, in Sanskrit, to cause to fall would be Chavayati, which then in Pali becomes Chaveti, to make her fall. So from her virtuous state where she's getting on with her practice down into a less virtuous state. So infinitive chavetum, and then having the desire to make fall, drop off the M and put chavetu kama. You will often see this where you see a verb with a tu at the end followed by kama, means having the desire to do something. It's a possessive compound. Incidentally, another way you see it, if you are pada means your, in this case, your abode, your location, or your status. If you are pada chuta, you are status fallen. You knocked off your perch. You are diminished or reduced from the status that you had. So here in this text that we're looking at, it's used as the opposite of patitati, which I'll deal with in a moment. So he falls. He does not remain steadfast in literally in the good law. So I can't remember whether I've explained Saddha in this group. Can you remember if I have, Simon or Fanny?
You've certainly mentioned it, yeah.
Okay, but it's Saddha. I'll explain it now. It's one of our core words. Saddha. Saddha it's often translated as faith, but so often there's more to it than that. And a person who has saddha is just a saddha, not to be confused with siddha, which is an accomplished person.
Are you on the iPad, James?
Sorry?
You're on the iPad.
Sorry. Uh, I am on the where? Yeah, here we are. Sorry, that's what I wrote. Oops, I even left out.
James, has that got anything to do with when you say sadhu good, when you're saying, someone's got their exercise right and you say sadhu good. Is that anything to do with
No,
it?
no, that in fact is from an entirely different root. I'm glad you raised that point. We can now for all time obviate any doubt or ambiguity about this. So let's look at the root. I just said a moment ago, don't confuse saddha with siddha. And siddha is from the root that you've just mentioned. We've got a root. We've got two roots, sad and sid, and they are essentially the same root. Sid is regarded as a kind of a weaker, shorter form of the long form sad. But treat them as being one root, and these are just two various forms of one root. And the essence of the meaning there is to achieve or to accomplish something. So a siddha is a regular past participle, same in Sanskrit and Pali. A siddha is an accomplished person in a spiritual sense. Now, from the alternative form of that root, so we get sadhu. Sadhu is two different things, but closely related in meaning, but meaning one as a noun. You talk about a sadhu, the sadhus in India, often translated as the holy men. And the idea is that the sadhu is somebody who adopts strict practices, ascetic practices, and goes straight to it. The idea of heading straight for the goal, not meandering around, but heading straight forward for it. He's the sadhu. And that is a masculine noun, and it declines like any other ordinary noun in u. The other meaning of the word as an indeclinable, as an exclamation, as in the one that Fenny just mentioned, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's put it right with an exclamation mark here. My pen's playing up again. Please don't play up, pen. Uh-oh, come on. Sorry, pen's playing up. If it carries on playing up, I'll have to drag in my old-fashioned manual whiteboard. But sadhu, as I say, it's a noun meaning a holy man, but as an exclamation, sadhu suggests it's something like amen, hear, hear, like hit the mark. The idea of that the words have achieved their purpose, agreed, bullseye, O speaker. So that's the meaning of the word sadhu there. But it's unconnected with our saddha. I'll give you the etymology of saddha. My pen is charged up. Shouldn't do. I don't know why it's doing this. So the iPad just isn't responding at all.
Close it down and call it up again.
Just if I turn it off, it might be time.
It's 1932.
I didn't ask for the time, nor did I ask you to say in what city I was. I just want you to get your bloody working. Slide to power. Okay, let me just. Okay, it's just booting up now. Okay, let's just see if I can see if it's going to work. Recover notes, resolve conflict. I didn't create the conflict in the first place. Resolve conflict. It hasn't done this to me before. I mean, it kind of devises new ways of tormenting you. It just won't even let me stop it resolving the conflict. Okay, I don't know what to do with it. Just going to pull up the old-fashioned whiteboard. I'm just going to just see if I can adjust the. Okay, I'll see if this works. I don't know whether I need a whole new iPad or whether just a new pen. So Shraddha. So in Sanskrit, right, the red. Um, Sanskrit Shraddha and Pali Saddha. So this needs to be green. Now, one bit of etymology that I've mentioned many times is that you will often find that a sh, something that is a sh in Vedic and Sanskrit, will turn up as a k in Latin and Greek. Um, in Sanskrit, an old word for heart is shrad. Shrad. The ordinary Sanskrit word for heart is hridaya, but the older form of the word is shrad, which we find in Vedic. And that word shrad turns up in Latin as cor, genitive cordis, the shra and the cor, and it turns up in Greek, or in Roman letters, cardia, as in cardiac arrest, for example. So the shrad is an old word meaning heart. It's come into English in the same form, but the k has mutated into a h, which gives us our English word heart. The dha element is the common root dha, meaning to place. So shraddha means the placing of the heart, so the placing of trust in something. Shraddha, heart placing. In Latin, we've got the Latin word for to believe, credere. In fact, it used to be in older pre-Latin, credare, giving credit. So, in fact, there's shraddha. So the word credit, so credere in ordinary Latin means to believe. If something is incredible, means unbelievable. But it had the older root meaning, the way they got to believe was you place the heart, you place your trust there. So the original idea was trust as opposed to blind belief. So it's that shraddha becomes saddha in Pali. So it doesn't look like it if you're looking just at the Pali, but the saddha is directly cognate with the Latin credere, credit, but then with the idea of trusting rather than believing. It is also used in Pali to mean believe, but it still has the basic underlying meaning of trusting. And indeed, the two meanings aren't entirely separate in English either. So it's sometimes translated as faith, which, as with so many of these things, I'm not going to say that's wrong, but do say that is potentially misleading translation, particularly because of the Christian implications of that word. I think I've seen it in Buddhist usage only in directly trusting somebody. I haven't seen it in the context. For example, I remember that hymn we used to sing, brought up the Roman Catholic, faith of our fathers, holy faith, we will be true to thee till death. I don't think I've seen it used in that kind of way in Buddhism. So, I think I jumped ahead a line. Not to worry. So, samanagato, it means followed by, accompanied by, therefore in possession of. So accompanied by or possessed of 5 dhammas, 5 qualities, it means here. The bhikkhu chavati na patitati, he falls, he does not stand firm. Does anyone have the full kind of etymology and derivation of the word samanagato? Yes, Simon.
I'll give it a go. Agata is the past participle of agachati, so come.
Yes.
And I think it's anvagata from anu agata, come along.
Yeah, and therefore to follow.
To follow. And sam presumably means something like he is with what follows. He is with what follows him.
That is right. I mean, if you put it into English like that, it sounds a little bit clumsy. What it means is he is accompanied by, they follow him and are part of him, part of what he is. So we kind of say endowed with those qualities, possessed of those qualities, but they accompany him as he goes. They follow him along.
It's kind of like he has good baggage with him.
In very much so, yes, yeah. Yes, nice one. So if you're accompanied by, or if you have that accompanied by that baggage, accompanied rather than unaccompanied baggage here, of course, um, it's with the instrumental, which is why we have the instrumental form panchahi dhammehi. So dhamma is used here in this very broad sense of things. Here is kind of qualities, as in moral qualities. So possessed of or accompanied by 5 dhammas, 5 particular qualities. Here, negative quality, of course, the bhikkhu chavati na patitati. Patitati, it would have been equally correct, and I think more common to say patitati, but either form is allowable. This is with the prefix of ta to stand, or sta, with the prefix pati, Sanskrit prati. Here it has the meaning of counter or against. So not just tittati, he stands, but patittati. It suggests here that you're correctly standing in the face of obstacles. You're standing up to something, to be able to resist, to stand up to it, not to be swept away. So the idea of kind of standing firm here. He falls, he does not stand firm or remain correctly where he is. Simon, yes.
Yeah, which prefix is it then? Is it pa plus tittati? So he kind of stands forth, or is it pati tati?
It is in Sanskrit prati, not pra.
Okay.
Okay, so it's prati tati. You would have expected to see. So actually, I've just seen here. Yeah, that could be a little bit confusing here, because it looks as if it could be na pratitati. But in fact, it's na pratishtati. In fact, in Sanskrit, it would probably be pratitishtati. But it is prati here. Prati in the sense of, it can either mean arrayed in the sense of you're in place correctly positioned in relation to other people. It can also have the meaning of standing firm, standing up against, like moral obstacles that might make the bhikkhu who lacks saddha, that might make him fail. So it's na pratishtati or na pratitishtati in Sanskrit, na pratitati. Yeah, well spotted there, Simon. There could be an ambiguity in the word. In one of the chants in our chant book, imeko mangala buddha sabbe ita patitita. That's the one where the Sambuddho Dipadam Seto Nisinno Cheva Majhime, and towards the end of that chant, Ime Chamangala Buddha, these auspicious Buddhas, Sabbe Ita Patitita, they're all pretty stood here, meaning they're all arrayed, but the idea there is that they're standing in their correct relationships, one to the other. That is the one meaning of the word, and another meaning of the word here is to standing firm, standing up against whatever tries to not knock you down. So it's the opposite of chavati. You can either be knocked down, fall, or you stand steadfast, remain
established or something like that.
That would be a good way of putting it. Yeah, the idea of you're standing firm.
Is there a verbal noun as well? Something like patitanam, patitana.
Um, I I was about to say unhesitatingly yes, but the answer is that sounds right. So I'd have to check. So Petitana would sounds as if it is the correct one. I can't recall seeing it in verbal noun form, but you know, that there's it could well exist, but highly likely. And if you use the word, everyone would readily understand what's meant anyway, even if you invented it.
You can get upatana, so presumably you can stick other prefixes on as well.
You can indeed. And prasthana and become pratana as the Satipatthana Sutta. But that could actually be a Pali corruption of a Smrityupasthana Sutra with the Upasthana rather than Prasthana, and there is some dispute as to what the correct interpretation is. But I think the equivalent sutra in Sanskrit is the Smrityupasthana Sutra, the Upasthana, the setting something up, the establishment of mindfulness. So. Endowed, possessed of these five qualities, bhikkhave, the vocative rather, O monks, the bhikkhu falls. He does not stand firm. He does not remain established. Saddhame in the literally the good dhamma. So katamehi panchami, what five? And note that this is put also in the instrumental plural to reflect the instrumental plural in the preceding statement. By what five? So to understood katamehi panchahi samanagato, accompanied by possessed of what five? So saddho bhikkhave bhikkhu na patithati saddhame. This now should be readily comprehensible. Asadhu, the faithless, the one lacking saddha, and the S is doubled, as we would fully expect, because it's the shra in Sanskrit. So in Sanskrit, it would be ashraddha. So saddha in Pali. By the way, the noun saddha, and it makes an adjective saddha, which is like any other word, declines like any other word ending in a short a. So a saddho, and it means without saddha. And ahimiko vikrave bhikkhu chavati na patithati saddhamme. So we've got hiri and uttapa or uttapa avatrapya in Sanskrit. Hiri and uttapa, I've dealt with the etymology of the word uttapa in my explanatory glossary. Hiri and uttapa, both words meaning roughly shame and conscience, that kind of thing. But it's they're both words relating to conscience. But hiri and uttapa have quite distinct moral meanings. You may be well aware of this already. Hiri, you don't do something out of a sense of hiri if your internal sense of good conduct won't let you do it. So in other words, some evil deed you could do that you wouldn't be found out, nobody would ever catch you, but you still just can't bring yourself to do it because you are disgusted by doing such an act. That is hiri, the sense of hiri. Otapa is a much more worldly kind of thing, and that is where you refrain from committing an evil act because of fear of consequences, like being found out. So here is a more deeper moral sense. You find it, you inherently can't bring yourself to do it. Or papa means, well, I would do it, but I might get found out, or, I fear the consequences of doing so. Here is the more kind of deeply moral thing. Simon, yes.
Is the ottappa related to tapati, like as in burning with shame or burning with regret?
I think actually I'm going to confess here that I'm going to have to remind myself what I wrote in the explanatory gloss. I think, no, it could be from a root trap, meaning fear. There's a tres and a trap. Let me just call up the explanatory glossary. Common explanatory glossary. Here we are. Hmm. Oops. Yes, apatrapati. Okay, from the Sanskrit word root trapati, meaning to be ashamed. So in other words, you refrain from committing a particular act because of the public shame that it would bring you, basically because you'd be too embarrassed to be found out. That was why that's why you don't do it. So trapati, to be ashamed, or to turn your face away in shame. And here we have a slightly irregular formation in Pali. So apatrapati becomes uttapati, which is, it doesn't quite follow the rules when it mutates from Sanskrit to Pali here.
Where's hiri from? Could you do the same with hiri?
Let me just say, see, let me just turn up hiri. Now I have a slight oops, copy it. I just want to copy it. Copy. Yeah, copy. I have a feeling I don't have much of an etymology for hiri. Oh, see hiri for a discussion of the difference, and now it's not. Oh, sorry. Maybe I haven't properly inserted two result. Hang on. Oh, hiri, there are two results for it. Oh, me, yes. No, yes. So hri in Sanskrit, hri, so to feel shame or to be modest. So the shame in the sense of the internal feeling of moral repugnance. So uttappa and hiri, they almost always are found next to each other in the texts, but with that, as I said, distinct moral tone to them. Yeah, I put it down here at the bottom. Oh, these are the last two lines in the entire explanatory glossary, as it currently is. Here you cannot bring yourself to do something, or tapa, don't do it because you might get found out. That's the essential reason. Okay, so my iPad still tells me that it's trying to resolve the conflict. So I'll have to deal with it later. It's just not cooperating. Lost my text now. There we are. So we have the noun hiri, and the person who is without hiri is an ahirika, one of non-hiri, just the nominalizing ka. A person with hiri would be a hirika, and the opposite is the ahirika. And the unotapi is the person without otapa. The kusito again, slightly abstruse etymology that I have dealt with in the explanatory glossary. It probably comes from something like kusada or kusida, literally bad sitting. In other words, sitting in the sense of lazing about, doing nothing, just being idle. So just being a couch potato is kusida, is kusita, sitting about idly. Simon, yes.
What's sita as well? Is that something like being cool or cold? Because I think I've seen that connected. That you haven't got the kind of the warmth or the zest to get up and go. Is that or have I made that up?
If you did make it up, I think it's pretty ingenious because shita in Sanskrit, of course, does mean cool or cold, but cool in a bad kind of way. I don't think I've seen that etymology in the works of reference. The explanation I've seen is to do, in fact, it's from the original D in the root becoming a T, so bad sitting, as in kusida. But it may have been so interpreted. It might have been these two side by side echoes in the minds of the native speakers.
It's kind of like lukewarm, like Laodicean.
So, what was the last word you said?
Laodicean, the lukewarm ones in the Bible.
Oh, right, yes. Okay, the lukewarm ones, which of course does make moral sense as well. You aren't kind of red hot with fire for the Dhamma, you're just lukewarm about it. Yeah, so although that may be not academically correct as etymology, I'm not saying it's not, but even if it's not, it could well be that echo was there in the minds of the native speakers. So yes, I think we can legitimately add that as an extra echo to the meaning of the word. Sitting around lazily and being lukewarm, with the shape of the word itself giving both kinds of echo. And the dupanyo. So I've seen it's just come. We've just gone 8. So what we'll do now is we'll just take our usual break until 8:15. And then when we come back, I'll just deal with Dupanyo and also that verse that Simon mentioned, if you were able to find it in the meantime. Okay, great. So I'll see you at again at 8:15.
Simon, you first might want to turn off the recording.
Thank you. Thank you.
Try and remind you when we come back.
Thank you. Pause recording. Well remembered, Shelley. Thank you.
The pen seems to work.
Well, it was. You see, it's partially working. I'll try. Just in the meantime, I'd actually ordered another stylus pen, which Amazon promised to deliver to me to tomorrow morning. Since it was only a fiver, I thought I'd risk it. So the last line in this group is Dukpanyo bhikkhave bhikkhu chavati napatittati saddhame. I think you all know the construction explanation of the word Dukpanyo. Is there anybody, apart from Simon, who of course will know it, who is able to explain Dukpanyo? Simon, are you able to explain Dukpanyo?
Have a go. Panya, wisdom or understanding.
Mm.
Difficult, bad, hard. So poor of understanding or the dull of intellect, something like that.
Exactly so. Yes, that is right. So we've got. Okay, let's hope that my stylus will go on working now. So we've got our well-known. Which are well-known Banya. Here we go again. Try further down. Change color. Come on. No, okay. It's giving up. I'm not going to waste it. Well, that's a whiteboard. So what happens here is that we've got our word, got the pens here. We've got our word Banya, which, our well-known word, Banya, which is in fact, in Sanskrit, Pradnya. That's Dnya, the root meaning to know. In Sanskrit, Pradnya, which is like knowing through something, just knowing it on the surface, but knowing through it, which is how they express understanding or wisdom. Knowing into something or knowing through it. It's a feminine noun on its own, both in Sanskrit and in Pali. So panya. And as always happens, when you get a feminine noun ending in an R, so yes, take panya, and then if you make it the second member or the second element of a compound adjective, it ceases to be a feminine noun and just becomes a regular word, noun or adjective, ending in a short ah. So it would be, I'm not sure if the word exists in Sanskrit, but it would be something like tu pritnya. Now, this prefix, not prefix is an independent word really, but often used as a prefix, du, no, I'll take that back. It exists as a root, dush, but then the root is then used as a prefix, mostly meaning bad. And it's the same as a dukkha, for example. But it also means like poor at something or lacking in something. So, for example, the word bala means strength. And if you're in Sanskrit, if you're durbala, not of bad strength, just means lacking strength, and therefore weak. And the durbala becomes dubbala in Pali. So prajna, sorry, duh prajna usduprajna, which in Pali then becomes dupanya, means not of bad wisdom, but of little wisdom, somebody lacking in wisdom. Note in particular that when you see, sorry, if I go now, panya. So when you see the word on its own, it's a feminine noun, declining fully as a feminine noun. When you put it into a compound, make it part of a compound, this panya ceases to be a feminine noun, it becomes part of an adjectival compound, and it now declines like an ordinary adjective, and the stem dupanya with a short a, masculine singular dupagno. The feminine singular would be dupanya, we're back to panya, but not because the original word was panya, but because dupanya is the feminine form of dupagno. So it's now become an adjective, declining as an adjective in the ordinary way. So this line then just essentially repeats, some summarizes what's gone before. Imehi kubikave panchahi dhammehi samanagato. So endowed, possessed of these five qualities, bhikkhuvati napatittati saddhamme. So this now, the second part of this passage repeats the first part, but in reverse order. Sorry, not reverse order, but just by reversing what was expressed as a negative now is expressed as a positive. So what we'll do is, without having it on the screen, let me just read through this second part and just try to listen to it and see whether you understand it as we go along. So it's saying exactly the same as what was said before, but the other way around. So with these good qualities, the bhikkhu does not fall, and he does remain steadfast in the good law, in this Dhamma. So I'll read it through and see slowly and hopefully clearly, and try and follow it in Pali. Panchahi, look, there we are, instrumental plural. Panchahi bhikkhave dhammehi samannagato bhikkhu nachavati patittati saddhamme. Remember, before we had chavati, napatitati. Now it's expressed the other way around. Nachavati, patittati saddhamme. Katamehi panchami. With what five? Katamehi panchami. Saddhu bhikkhave bhikkhu nachavati, patittati saddhamme. Hirima. Well, this is making an adjective out of hiri. So hirima, stem hirimant, one possessed of hiri. So hirima, bhikkhave bhikkhu nachavati, patittati saddhamme. Tapi bhikkhave bhikkhu nachavati, patittati saddhamme. Aradha viryo, opposite of kusito. Aradha viryo, bhikkhave bhikkhu nachavati, patittati saddhamme. Anyava, bhikkhave bhikkhu nachavati, patittati saddhamme. Imehi ko bhikkave chahi dhammehi samanagato bhikkhu nachavati patithati saddhamme. So looking at these, we've looked at a saddho, somebody who's without saddha. Incidentally, a saddho is somebody who's without saddha, just as dupanyo is somebody without anya. So asaddho is somebody without saddha. Look at these two. Oops, where's my rubber? Oops. We know the very important group of adjectives that are formed with the suffixes stem form vant or mant. They have exactly the same meaning. They're in what linguists call complementary distribution, namely, they complement each other in where they're found. If the noun to which they're added ends in an a, then it uses the vant form. If it ends in a vowel other than a, it uses the mant form, which is why, for example, you have bhaga, meaning a share, a lot, and then it can mean blessedness. So bhagava, accusative bhagavantam, so with a v there, because the preceding vowel is a. If the preceding vowel is anything other than an a, then instead of va, you have ma. Exactly the same meaning. That is why we see the word here. We've had hiri. You can make an adjective out of it, hirima. And the declension of these adjectives ending in month and vant. Well, you know it from, for example, nominative. You can we you know in our chants we decline a lot of it, don't we? We have bhagava, nominative bhagavantam, bhagavantam abhivademi, bhagavantam. We have bhagavato savaka sangho. You know, the sangha of disciples of the Blessed One, Bhagavato, Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo, well proclaimed by the Blessed One is the Dhamma. So stem form matomant, nominative, just ends in ma or va. In Sanskrit, they end in man and van. Many of you will know the Sanskrit in modern Hindi, derived directly here from Sanskrit. There's the phrase Bhagwan, which is how it's pronounced in Hindi. Bhagwan is an honorific title for a respected guru. So they call it. So it's the same as a Bhagava in Pali. It's just the sounds in the nominative form. It's the stem mant becomes man or van. It remains the same in Pali, save that the final n drops off, which gives us bhagava. In the accusative, it's identical in Sanskrit and Pali, bhagavantam. In the instrumental, equally identical in Sanskrit and Pali, bhagavata. In the genitive, you could say it's identical. In the Sanskrit, it is bhagavata with visarga, with a subdotted h, and the words ending in Sanskrit almost invariably mutate to o in Pali. So bhagavata shravaka sangha is we get bhagavato savaka sangho in Pali. So remember then that we see here where I'm highlighting, you see a noun that we now know, hiri, followed by a ma. Well, it's the ma, exactly the same meaning as the va, but it's ma because it's a vowel other than a. So the monk who has a sense of hiri, nachavati patittati saddhamme, he does not fall, he remains steadfast in the good dhamma. So the uttapi, somebody who has uttapa. Remember, this is the stem in, as in yogin, nominative singular yogi. So uttapin, uttapi, the person with uttapa. Bhikkhave, bhikkhunachavati, patittati saddhamme. Now, the opposite of kusita, or one of the opposites of kusita, is the aradha virya. Aradha means it's actually the original meaning is to take something. Rub. Arab means to take something up, and then it also comes to mean to begin something. In fact, in modern Hindi, the aramb means the beginning. So you begin it is one meaning, and the other meaning is you kind of get it going, get it worked up. So, but in a moral sense here, one's virya, one's energy is arantha, so aroused, got going. So this is a possessive compound. So arantha virya is somebody whose viryam is arantham, somebody whose virya, whose energy is got going. It means you got your aroused your energy, your virya. Simon.
Yeah, sorry, I may have missed this because I had to answer the door, but you may have covered it. But have you taken the text for your notes directly from the sutta? Because Ger and Karunatilaka just use acusito, presumably because they don't want to introduce another past participle or another compound, and they just want to show the privative a.
Goodness me. You know, I tell you what I did. Well spotted, Simon. Let's get the magnet on tapete. Acusito, yes. Yes. Yeah. What happened is I took this because all of the texts here that appear in Karunatilaka, I've kind of located them all because Ger and Karunatilaka don't actually tell you where it tells you which sutta it's from, but it doesn't give you the precise reference. So I've discovered the precise references for them all. Indeed, I give them at the end in my analysis, not only where the reference is, but where it's to be found in Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. So what I've done to save myself laboriously typing up the whole thing as a copy out of Ger and Karunatilaka, I called it up on Digital Pali Reader and then copied and pasted it out of the Digital Pali Reader. So yes, Simon, you're right, and probably I don't know whether it's a legitimate alternative reading, acquisita, or whether they did it for the reasons you mentioned, not to have to explain the additional word. But that would be an odd kind of way for Ger and Karunatilaka to behave, because they've got these fairly comprehensive glossaries of their words. So I can't see why they should have been shy about just that one word, but it is possible. But this certainly, the text I've given you here is the one that I called off the Digital Pali Reader simply to save myself the trouble of typing out the entire thing on the keyboard. But anyway, well spotted. Um, so Panyara, where you have a feminine, where you have a masculine noun ending in an au, stem a, and then you add this adjectival suffix meaning possessed of with mant or vant. So you get bhaga, for example, bhagava, bhagavantam. Where you get a feminine noun, panya, you can be either long or short. So you could have panyava or panyava, but you do find both. Oh, I see. I've referred you in the footnote here to my analyzed version where to find the month and vant in both Macdonnell and in Perniola. So Panyara Bhikkhave is the opposite of Duppanya. Suppose you could also have the word Appanya, but Duppanya is more common, I think. So Panyara Bhikkhave Bhikkhu Nachavati Patiphati Sadhamme Imehi ko Bhikkhave Panchahi Dhammehi Samanagato Bhikkhu Nachavati Patiphati Sadhamme. So, do we have any queries arising out of this? And after dealing with those, we can move on to onto our next text. I'm just going to call up what I said about Aradha. Okay, I'm just calling up now the note I've done in the explanatory glossary. So it's from the root rub. It's an alternative root, rub or rumb. You often find that alternative forms of the root, one form having a nasal in it, and the other not. So rub or rumb. So the ordinary meaning of beginning, then to lay hold of something. The original meaning actually is to take or to seize. In fact, oddly enough, it's cognate with rapire, for which our English word rape, which means to seize or to take originally, but just means to take. So Arab, to take to oneself, and therefore to begin or get going. Simon.
Yeah, there's another form of this with another prefix. There's uparambati, which is to take to task, to argue with, to
Ah. Yes, because that very much reflects her. I'm going to take him up on that, meaning take him to. Yeah, exactly so. Yes, well spotted, Simon. Yeah. So you've seen that used in the meaning of taking somebody to task or upbraiding him, putting him in right.
yeah, uparambati.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I don't think I'd come across that one, but it certainly makes sense. You do sometimes, as in that one, get these entertaining similarities between the way ideas are constructed between Sanskrit, Pali, and English. So we have exactly that to take somebody up on something, either in a good sense or a bad sense. Take him up on a mistake, or take somebody up on his offer.
There's another one, isn't there, about well undertaken or well begun, well got, like susamaradha.
Susamaradha means kind of well undertaken, will be and got his act together properly. Yes, yeah. Um, so yeah, good. So the original idea then is beginning, as I mentioned also in modern Hindi, Arambh or Arambha in Sanskrit is just a beginning. And in the Bodhicharyavatara, it says you know if you're going to he really cautions you against dropping a venture halfway through. He says it's very bad for your karma if you if you give yourself the idea that having undertaken something you can then drop it. But what he says, Purvam nirupya samagrim, having examined the entire thing, you're allowed not to undertake it if you assess that it's not the right thing for you to do. Once you've done it, you should make a moral commitment to carrying through. And then it goes on to the extended meaning of aradhavirya, one whose energy is aroused. And then with sangrambhate, get excited or flying into a rage. Incidentally, while we're looking at this, I mention it because we chant it very frequently. Where you have in Sanskrit a root beginning with a r, but prefixed by the prefix sam, so it'll be samrambha, you very often find that is lengthened just to a side, loses the anuswara, loses the M, and is lengthened to a sa. So ratha is a chariot. A ratin or rati, ratin stem form, rati nominative singular form, is the charioteer. Your co-charioteer, so the charioteer then would normally be the warrior in the chariot, and so the sangratin in Sanskrit, the samratin, the co-charioteer, is the man who actually controls the horses and steers the chariot, who's the one who's with the warrior in his chariot. And he's also in charge of the looking after the horses. So sangratin in Sanskrit becomes sarati in Pali. Sarati, Sattadev Deva. So Purisadhamma Sarati. The Sarati, literally the co-charioteer, therefore the tamer, the person in charge of the horses, so by extension meaning the horse tamer, of the Purisadhamma, the human broncos, from the root dam meaning to tame. And one of the ways of forming the future passive participle is just by adding ya to the root. So damya, it could also be dantavya, but also damya in Sanskrit. So damya meaning is requiring to be tamed, damya, which in Pali becomes dhamma. Now, not to be confused with dhamma with an H, this is just dhamma with a D. So the dhamma, let me just write it up here. So Sanskrit and Pali. Dhamma, dhamma, meaning required. The original root meaning of that word is requiring to be tamed. But it acquired, in that short form, it acquired a specialized meaning in early Sanskrit, and similarly in Pali. It just meant it means, yes, requiring to be tamed, but that form of the future passive participle, as opposed to the other one, dantavya, dantabba in Pali, the dhamma form specifically came to mean an unbroken horse, meaning requiring to be tamed, therefore the unbroken horse. So the Purisadamsa, which in Spanish then come into English and the Wild West, is the bronco, the unbroken wild horse. And so the Purisadamma is the human bronco, where we are being compared to untamed wild horses. And the Buddha, in the Itipiso chant, the Buddha is the Sarati, the literally co-charioteer, but in the meaning of the tamer of the Purisadamma, of the human broncos. Simon.
Yeah, just a couple of points about that line. It wouldn't need to come through the noun, would it? Dhamma as in an unbroken horse. It could just mean Dhamma as in a purisa, to be tamed, a man, the gerundive of taming for a particular man.
Yes, it can mean that, and there are several otherwise perfectly respectable translations where you see the translations such as the tamer of men even desiring training, or men to be tamed. Yes, the answer is it could mean that, but my own view, which I'm prepared to stand up and defend, is that in Sanskrit, first, two reasons. In Sanskrit, the word dhamya has acquired the specific specialized meaning of an unbroken horse, not just specifically that. And secondly, he's not the teacher of men to be tamed, he's the sarati. The sarati is specifically the person who deals with the horses. So I think the clear imagery, on my interpretation, I'm prepared to be shot down, but I'm not shot down yet. We've got this poetic imagery, quite graphic imagery, that we are being compared to unbroken horses, which is why the Buddha is the sarati. And the sarati had the specific job of being in charge of the horse taming.
I think it's even better than that.
Go ahead, Simon.
Because I thought until you just said this that Sarati was Sarati, a man with a chariot, but it can't be because it's the long R. It would be Sarati, wouldn't it? So
yes.
Looking at that, what that suggests to me is that your co-charioteer is, while you're going about doing all this stuff like butchering people or driving around looking for pleasure, your co-charioteer, the Blessed One, is taming those creatures that are dragging you around. So your senses, or your the desires that you have, which fits in with a lot of other imagery within the suttas. The animals tied to the post, or the elephants, or
yes. We find that imagery occurring again and again.
So it's really nice that while you're going about your normal man about town business, you've got your right hand charioteer who's actually keeping you safe and directing where the horses are going to go. He's looking after you in that sense.
Yeah, I very much agree with that. Thanks for that, Simon. I hadn't actually looked at it in that way. I do agree. Because so often the wild, the untamed senses, are compared to wild animals. I mean, the suttas are full of similes about wild animals. And also, it's just dawned on me, in the Bhagavad Gita, we have Arjuna is the warrior, and Krishna, the divine avatar, is actually his charioteer. He is the Sangratin, or in Pali, Sarati, but he's the divine one. Arjuna is the warrior. And it is Krishna as the co-charioteer, one in charge of steering the horses and guiding the chariot, who is actually giving Arjuna the moral guidance, which is the entire story of the Bhagavad Gita. So it all ties in.
Does the Bhagavad Gita predate the Buddha, or is it later?
The story itself may well predate it, but I think the actual way it was written is, I think, around the same kind of time, or maybe a little bit later. But I believe it to be the case that the like so many of these things, they came to be written in a certain form in classical Sanskrit, but from stories and myths and legends that had existed from long before, even back into Vedic times.
That makes it even better, doesn't it? In the sense that it's being said, you've heard it this way, but in fact, it's the Buddha. It's this. It's not the charioteer you thought, that we're substituting a better charioteer here.
Yeah, that even better. It does get better, Simon. Thank you, because we see again and again in the Buddha's teaching, he's adopting Hindu vocabulary, Hindu imagery, but then giving a different twist to it. Giving to use an awful word, giving his own spin to it.
Brahmins and Kamma.
Yes, yeah, and as in Upanayiko. For example, in Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo, Sandittiko Akaliko Ehipassiko Upanayiko.
Initiation.
Is this, yeah, so it's the Upanaya in Sanskrit is initiation. It makes an adjective Upanayika, initiatory, relating to the initiation, which is a standard Brahmanical term for the Upanaya leading up to, and around the age of 13 or so, the pupil is led up to the guru. It's a bit like the Christian confirmation, the Jewish bar mitzvah. They give a rite of passage ceremony, the Upanaya, leading up to. And the Buddha then was, by using this Upanayiko, said, okay, you've got your Hindu ceremony of the Upanaya, but this is the true initiation. So yes, this all ties in beautifully, Simon.
And also, Upanayika, kind of leading you out of trouble. So, taking you away from the dangerous stuff and taking you to where it's cooler and better. Leading one off, leading one away.
That certainly is possible, but upa here normally means leading up to or towards.
Okay.
But I think that meaning could also exist. Leading you away is, of course, vinaya, as in the monastic discipline. The idea the vinaya either keeps you away from evil or keeps evil away from you, or it has both meanings. It's the guiding away or leading away, keeping you out of trouble.
Is the Upanayika, is that upa or apa?
It is from upa.
Okay, that wouldn't be.
Yeah. It's not apa.
Okay.
It's definitely upa, meaning up to. But I take it, if it were apa, that would mean off or away. So this most interesting, and I hope useful rabbit hole has just arisen from me looking up the Arab and Aramb, and then noticing the Sangramba and Saramba, and of course that sparked off quite a papancha in my mind. So, you're familiar with the term papancha, I think. Christine, are you familiar with the word papancha? Penny, are you familiar with the word papancha?
No.
Okay.
I'm afraid.
Again, it's a really, I'll deal with it now because it's a key word. Papancha, I'll write it up here. Papancha is often translated as proliferation, in the sense of proliferation of mind. It's the ordinary thing. We all have it. Well, I do anyway. The thoughts that spin away. A thought comes into your mind, and off you go. One thought leads to another, to another, to another. And that is the papancha. Papancha translated, as I said, as proliferation, and it's written like this in Pali. It's now, if you analyze this word, pancha in Sanskrit, pancha. Now, pancha, as we know, means five. Just been looking at that word. It is literally pancha, five in fourth. What does that mean? It means that it's the imagery of the closed hand, the fist, the concentrated mind, unified as one. When your mind then goes all over the place, pancha, fiving forth. So what was unified as a fist, now fiving forth. And that is the imagery that's used for proliferation. And interestingly, very interestingly, in Hindu cosmogony, their philosophy of the origin of the universe, the idea is that the visible known universe arise from the movements in the mind of Brahma that give rise to the physical universe. And in the meditation group I take in Manchester, we have a Tamil speaker, a Tamil speaking Sri Lankan, and I was looking at this word with them. Although it's strictly a meditation class, I find it awfully difficult to resist the temptation to bring in a bit of Pali, an explanation of Pali. And a lot of many Sanskrit words have come into Tamil over the centuries. So I asked the good Vahishan, our Tamil-speaking Sri Lankan, whether they had the equivalent of prapancha in Tamil, and he said yes, it's pronounced purapanjam, essentially the same word in Tamil, but in Tamil it means creation, as in divine creation. I said, wow. So it seems that they've got this word from the old Vedic sources, where just as we can have our papancha, the proliferation of our own minds, one thought spinning into another, in this old line of Hindu philosophy that's come into his Tamil, the universe is a papancha in the mind of God, a kind of proliferation in the mind of God, which has led to the creation in Hindu cosmogony, that has led to the creation of the world. So some rather lovely imagery there. So the entire visible universe, including our bodies, are just proliferations in the Brahma mind.
James?
Yes, Simon.
There's a verb here, papancheti, which is obviously pa plus pancheti. What does the pancheti mean? Because that might be another way of looking at it. Something to do with thinking.
Yeah. Cheti, where did you find that?
It's just it just found it in the dictionary now in the PED.
Okay, right. You very often find where you get a noun in Sanskrit, which is not directly derived, just not derived from a verb. So pancha is just the numeral 5, prapancha, fiving forth. But it doesn't come from a verb root. So it's not actually a verb or derived from a verb, But supposing you want to turn it into a verb or have a verb form of it, Sanskrit does that for you very easily. You just make it a class 10 verb. So you take the noun, not a verb root, but the ordinary noun prapancha that doesn't have a verb root. You want to make it into a verb, prapanchayati. Prapanchayati in Sanskrit, papancheti in Pali.
How do we know that it didn't come the other way? I mean, is there a pancheti and then papancheti, and from that, so that means in order to do the thing that papancha refers to, and that the verbal noun came after. How do we know it wasn't that way, which is more normal, isn't it?
It would be much more, but we do know that there is a class of verbs in Sanskrit, sorry, a class of words in Sanskrit, which do not have verbal roots. I mean, there are several of them. The numerals are one. The numerals can exist on their own. The word for one, eka, dwa, two, three. These are not verbal roots, and that they exist independently of there just is no verbal root for them. So pancha, that there is no root. I'm almost certain. I'm just looking up in. Um, according to Whitney, there is no root puncha or punch. I'd be very surprised if there was.
So really, looking for a separate verb, pancheti, would be like looking in the English dictionary for to five, he fives, or it fives.
Yeah, you wouldn't find kind of a two five. It wouldn't. It just does not exist as a verb. But you can invent a verb out of it, as I just did earlier, fiving forth.
And that's what pancheti would mean.
That's what. Yeah, it's just turning prapancha into a pure verb. For example, there are another word, for instance, a word meaning an eagle, garuda, which there's no verb for that. It's just a pure noun, garuda meaning an eagle. Singha meaning a lion. And there are lots of words. There is no verb. These are pure nouns, and you can see why. There are so many things that deeply embedded in it. These are nouns, not verbs. Garuda, eagle; Singha, lion. But you can make verbs out of them. So you can make, for example, garudayati, meaning to behave like an eagle. Singhayati, to act like a lion. And the word putra, meaning a son, again, it's not associated with any verb. So putrayati would mean to behave like somebody's son. In other words, to honor somebody as if he were your father. So putrayati, behave like, act like like a son. And there are numerous of these words where there's no verbal root. You can create a verb out of them by make it into a class tens with the ayati ending, which then means, of course, as we see in Pali, you can have ayati, but more commonly eti. So that's the explanation for that one. So where were we? So what we could do then, we could just, I'll ask you to read just read a couple of lines each. So Christine, could you read the two lines out beginning with Sadho?
Okay, here I come.
There you come.
Seto bhikkhave kuna chavati attitati sadame.
I remember Saddame. Be careful to double the Saddame.
Sadame.
Exactly.
Sadame. Mhm. And another line?
Yeah,
Grima.
please.
Grima bhikkhave kuna chavati patitati. Oh,
Yes.
patitati sadame. Sadame.
If you remember, you've got to hold both of those as doubled. It's Saddame.
Sadame.
Very good. Say Saddame.
Sadame.
Excellent. You got it. Round to you, Simon, for the next two lines beginning Uttapi.
Ottapi bhikkhave bhikkhu na chavati patitati saddamme. Aradha viryo bhikkhave bhikkhu na chavati patitati saddamme.
Excellent. And Fenny, would you like to do the following two?
Panyawa bhikkhave bhikkhuna chavati patitati saddhamme. Imehi ko I can't find that little that bhikkhave panchahidamehi samanagato bhikkhuna chavati patitati saddhamme.
Okay, excellent. It's interesting. You say you had difficulty of a bhikkhave.
Well, they're both aspirated, and I find it difficult.
Oh, bhikkhave, yes, they are.
And with a
would
double
be
yes.
it would be bhikshava in Sanskrit, and this is an irregular vocative.
Yes, yeah.
It would be the bhikkhu, or the bhikkhu, and the plural is either in Sanskrit bhikshu, the plural bhikshavaha, ending in ava. So in Pali you can have bhikkhavo, Sanskrit bhikshavaha, Pali bhikkhavo.
My problem is the double K with the aspirated kahu. So bhikkhu.
Yeah, so bhikkhu, but both are aspirated.
Right.
But so in the plural, it can be either bhikkhavo, or bhikkhavo, or, which is closer to the Sanskrit form, or in Pali, but not in Sanskrit, you can make a plural of it just by lengthening the final vowel. So bhikkhu, you can often have bhikkhu as the so in Pali bhikkhavo or bhikkhu. Now, as a general rule of grammar, the vocative form differs from the nominative form only in masculine singulars and feminine singulars sometimes. In the plural, the vocative is always the same as the nominative, with, I think I'm right in saying, with this one single exception in the whole of Pali. It's only in this one word that we have a vocative plural, which is different from the nominative. So bhikkhave is a kind of a unique, anomalous form. It's certainly not a standard form, and it could well have been a survival from a dialectal form of Pali. Some kind of what you might call dialect forms survive in the sutras. Not many, but a few. Yes, Simon.
Yeah, I think Bhikkhu Bodhi says it's from Magadha. It's that particular dialect that from where the Buddha was actually from.
That would certainly make sense. So the differences, I mean, and I very much doubt whether the differences between Magadhi and what we know as standard Pali, they're unlikely to be greater than the differences that we'd find even within the British Isles for the various forms of speech. I mean, they were okay. Maybe some of the varieties of speech we find within the British Isles are far greater in their discrepancy than from Magathi to Pali. They're basically quite unimportant dialect differences. But there would have been no danger of a misunderstanding. They would have been relatively comprehensible, and even a Scotsman can be relatively comprehensible if he's speaking it properly, slowly, and clearly.
Come off it. In Inverness, they have the purest vowels and the clearest articulation. You're talking region.
Okay, yes, I will bow to that. I just felt a slight entitlement to make a bit of fun with both my parents from County Cork, and after my father had a few jars taken, he slipped back into his broad County Cork accent. It wasn't always totally easy to understand. So. Actually, we're almost at 9:15 now. So this brings us to the end of lesson 2 in Geren Karantilika. I have been hatching in my mind a little Papanchik plan just to speed things up a little bit, and even give you study assignments to speed things up for the Geren Karantilika. But I'll just carry on hatching that little plot in my mind. But then we'll continue then next time with the Ratana Sutta. I think the reason doing this from the Samatha chanting book, the reason I'm jumping forward to the Ratana Sutta rather than doing the intermediate ones first is because that is the next one that I happen to have already done. The intervening intermediate pages still remain work in progress. So we'll be looking at the Ratana Sutta next time. Well, on Tuesday actually, the next time we meet. Okay, so shall we chant the blessing and go our ways? Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sada suti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada suti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba sanghanu bhavena sada suti bhavantu te. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, very good. Thank you for joining me, and see you either in 2 weeks or some of you hopefully even on Tuesday when we reconvene. Okay, thank you. Goodbye then. Bye.